Greetings from the Hermitage, and welcome to the fourth video in our series on addition, subtraction, equations. In the previous video, that was number 3, we looked at vectors as a way to visualize addition, subtraction equations. And in that video, and without proof, we stated that subtraction means to add the opposite. In this video, we'll provide a visual justification for that rule. As we get started, it might be nice for you to have graph paper, a ruler, and a pen or pencil, and you can pause the video while you gather those items. In the very first video, we gave you 3 numbers, 2, 5, and 7, and I wrote an addition equation, 2 add 5 equals 7, and then I asked you to write 2 equivalent subtraction equations. Go ahead and take about 30 seconds and write those 2 equivalent subtraction equations for those given numbers. Welcome back. The 2 equations that I hope you wrote were these. Two equals 7 subtract 5, and 5 equals 7 subtract 2. For the remainder of this video, we'll be looking at this third equation. There could have been other equations that you wrote, but this is the one that we'll be looking at. For now, at this point, I'd like you to draw about 4 number lines similar to the one shown here. Make sure your tick marks are evenly spaced. Go ahead and pause the video and come back when you've done that. Welcome back. So here at the top of the page, we have the equation that we want to look at. And I like to represent that on the number line that I have here. So 5 is the length of that yellow bar. And then the 7 on the number line is here, and the 2 is right there. And hopefully you can see how we relate the numbers 7, 2, and 5 on this number line to get the equation at the top of the page. Now I'll give you a second to look at that. Now I'm going to erase this 7 and this 2, and I'm going to move that 5 over to the right to about 9. And I'll write the 9 here and the 4 here. Now based on what we did with 5 equals 7 subtract 2, I'd like you to write an equation that relates 4 and 9 and 5, a subtraction equation, please. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. And perhaps you wrote 9 subtract 4 equals 5. All right. Good. Now I'm going to move that bar over to 6. I'll erase that 9. And I'll write in the numbers 6 and 1. And what I'd like you to do at this time is to write another subtraction equation relating 1, 6, and 5. Time's up. The equation I'm thinking of is that 6 subtract 1 equals 5. So we're developing a pattern here, and patterns are very important in math. And the pattern that I see is that to get this distance 5, that yellow bar, we take the right-hand number, the bigger number, and from that we subtract the left-hand number, and seems like it works every time. So it was the right number minus the left number equals 5 for us. And we'll kind of keep that going. Hopefully you're okay with that. So now we're going to go to this next situation here. And here we have 2 here and -3 here. We can count the boxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that distance is 5, but we need to be able to show that mathematically. And our pattern was that we take the right number, and from that we subtract the left number. So in this case, that would be right minus the left equals 2 subtract a -3, and I put that -3 into the equation, and that has to equal 5. Now what we do know is that if we have 2 plus some number equals 5, we know what this number has to be. We know that that's going to be 2 add 3 equals 5. Now we go back to the top of the page. We'll write both of these equations. Going to be 2 plus 3 equals 5. And we also have this equation, 2 subtract a -3 equals 5. Now we're going to look at something called one-to-one correspondence. So in these two equations, this 2 corresponds to that 2. And this 5 corresponds to that 5. That means that this 3 here has to correspond to subtract -3. So we have 3 equals a negative, or subtract a -3. So we see that subtracting means add the opposite. Here's my subtraction. Here's -3. That converts into add the opposite, and the opposite of -3 is just 3. And we're pretty much finished with this. So there you have it. Subtraction means add the opposite. A double negative gives you a positive. And that's pretty much it. I only have one thing left to say. You probably know what that is, and that is, that's all, folks. Be safe. Con cuidado.